What's up, guys? So, uh, something just popped up out of nowhere today. SRX, the racing series, has a video game. I knew nothing about this, wasn't really looking for it, but a couple of you guys let me know in the comment section that it's out. So, we're gonna check this out, and I'm gonna just give you my thoughts on it, let you know what I think. So, let me expand this. All right. I don't, this laptop is kind of slow, so you guys got to bear with me. So let's.
We've been working really hard to get ready for the SRX race season, but we've also been working on SRX, the game.
I'm Alan Bestwick. This is SRX, the game.
All right. Now we took. Hold on a second. All right. We got a quick look at the trailer. I'm gonna go through it again. This time I'll pause and I'll tell you what I think. But before we get to that, um, I'm just gonna give you an overview of the SRX series and my thoughts on it. You know, my thing is really NASCAR. That's really my top thing, and that's really all I care about. But I have been interested in this SRX thing, you know, just as a curiosity. I like the cars. I like the way they're designed. They're different. They do feel, or just looking at it, it just looks like something that would have been made in the 1980s, right? It's got a 1980s feel to it. It's not really, they don't look super modern. They're kind of boxy, but yet like, I don't know. They look like an 80s type of race car. Um, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying that it does look like something that would have been built in the 80s. I like the design. It's different. I like that big giant wing because you know it's I don't know. It just gives it character. And I am interested. You know, are are these guys all really superstars? No. There's a handful of guys there that are legit. You know, were big names, but most of these guys probably a lot of us never heard of or maybe have heard of but don't know much about. I honestly don't think that's important. Um, it racing is racing, right? You're gonna have X amount of guys in there racing each other. It's gonna be cool to me. Another thing is I'm not really sure of the schedule, but as far as I know, they are not going to be racing head to head with NASCAR in terms of the schedule, which is the smartest thing. You know, you don't want to try to compete head on, right? They could throw little jabs at each other if they want to, just for marketing purposes, but they know better, right? Do your own thing. I believe these races are going to be on CBS. I'm going to look into it and find out when these races are on. And yes, I am interested. And if it's on a week, yeah, I'm not really sure when it's on, but if I have to record it and watch it later, I'll do that. So yeah, I am curious, and you know, I'll watch it. I'm not into dirt. I'm not into road courses. I'm not sure how broken up the schedule is. And I'm sure they're gonna throw all kinds of stuff in there, right? Because that I think that's the point of this series. So I'm willing to watch it. It looks cool, you know. Um, so I didn't know they were making a game for this. And one of the things I can tell you, right? This game is coming out in a week. I One of the things I hate most about any game developer or publisher is when they start marketing and talking about the game and announcing it and revealing it and all that stuff. Usually it happens way too soon. And I fucking hate that. I bring up Rockstar because I love their games, but I fucking hate their marketing strategy. It takes forever. Like when Red Dead Redemption 2 was first revealed in that first trailer, okay? I mean, we knew about the game before that, but the first time they actually revealed it as a trailer, that first trailer blew me away, and most people were excited. The game didn't come out for another 2 years. That's insane. And they do that with every game they make. They've done it with all these Grand Theft Auto games. Well, I guess when you could go back to San Andreas, I mean, those games came out 1 year after the other. So it's not fair to say that. But after GTA 4, and they all of their marketing has been that way with all their games. They'll announce the game and then there's this trickle of information. I fucking hate that. So I've always said some games don't need a lot of time to market. You get people hyped up and then boom, right around the corner, the game's available. That to me is the best way to do it. And with this game, they're doing exactly that. All right. This thing, the trailer's out, and now guess what? Next week you can buy the game. How fucking awesome is that? So, I like that. But I will say this, right? That's not going to work for every situation. And in this situation, there could be some uh, red flags, right? Maybe this game isn't going to be all that good, and they're just like, just push the shit out there and have it coincide with the SRX series that's going to be starting soon. The timing is perfect for that. But also maybe we don't want people getting too much information of the game and then realizing it's really not all that. So that's a possibility, but I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just throwing out different possibilities. So we're going to look at the game, and then let's just look at the trailer. Okay, it's made by Monster Games. They have plenty of experience with 704 and the Heat franchise.
We've been working really hard to get ready for the SRX race season, but we've also been working on SRX the game.
Okay, I would like to know how long they've been working on this game. Maybe when they first announced the SRX was actually going to happen, and they were on going from the planning stage to actually building these cars and getting all the pieces in place to have a series. Maybe then they also went to Monster Games and said, we want you to make a game because we want to package all this thing as its own thing together. And I have to assume that has to be the way they did it, because just looking at the trailer, it's a lot further along than the first NASCAR Heat Evolution game was, right? Um, yeah, it's there's nothing in this trailer that's gonna be impressive, but I will say that overall, when you look at everything, it does seem like they are where I wanted the NASCAR series of games to start. When I, you know, what when this is a good first game. I mean, I don't know the final result. Obviously, this is all just off of a trailer, but just looking at what's in there, it's like, okay, this is what I would expect to see in a first year title, right? And this is not a premier series either. NASCAR is a triple A title deserving a sport. So it seems like they've learned from the past, maybe, and because this is not, it doesn't look like it's going to be an evolution, heat NASCAR heat evolution type of product, which is good for those of you who want this game and are really into this series. Okay, so all right, there's going to be 16 superstars. All right, um, that's fine for a small series. Good. But yeah, you could see graphics wise, yeah, it looks like a NASCAR Heat type of game. Now, I'm gonna say something else. It's possible that this game is going to be a lot closer to the Tony Stewart games. I don't know anything about those games, so I don't want to reference it too much because I don't know anything about it. Those of you who've played the Tony Stewart games and have them, you would know more than I would whether or not this mimics that in terms of gameplay and the overall structure of the game. So I'm just kind of freeballing it. But I'm assuming it would have a lot of similarities because it is a Monster Games product and it's also, they have that affiliation with Tony Stewart. So I'm assuming this is a would probably be a lot more like the Tony Stewart games. But for reference purposes, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the 704 Heat games because that's my experience. Yeah, you could see even in the menu, it's, you know, it's a pretty basic plain menu. And it kind of does remind me of something like, I don't want to say NASCAR Heat Evolution, but maybe the second game or whatever. It's basic, it's plain. And for a first game, okay, this it's okay. Now, 50 tracks. This is where it gets interesting. And I think the strategy of this first game, and I think it's a smart strategy, by the way, is they're not going to hit you with graphics. They're not going to hit you with details. They're not going to hit you with, you know, great presentation. They're going to hit you with cars, different types of tracks, 50 tracks. A lot of these have to be fantasy tracks, I would assume. I love stuff like that. I don't give a damn if it's a licensed track, an actual racetrack, or it's a fantasy track. As long as the tracks are fun and they're interesting, you can do a lot just with a fantasy track and make tracks the way you want to make them. I love stuff like that. I don't mind that in a game at all. And I think people do get caught up in things like, oh, well, is it an official track? Now, I do expect whatever tracks they're racing at in real life, that has to be in the game. So I'm assuming it is. But 50, and then it says 50 plus. So I don't know what that means. Maybe they're going to add more tracks through DLC. I don't know. But 50 plus tracks, it's a lot of fucking tracks, and it's going to give people who want to race online plenty of tracks where you don't get tired of racing at the same tracks all the time. So let's move on from that. 50 tracks. I'm impressed. Yeah, a lot of this, it just looks like a NASCAR Heat 3 game, so, which is okay for this series. Look at that. You got stadium trucks, wingless sprints, dirt late models. Okay, before we talk about this, so they're throwing in all kinds of vehicles, 50 tracks. I mean, that alone to me is gonna, it's gonna get people to buy the game because that, to me, that's their strategy. It's like we're not gonna blow you away with detail, uh, immersive presentation, uh, or a super deep career mode, anything like that. But we are gonna blow you. We're just gonna pummel you with content, which is great. That's the best way to go for a small developer and a small racing series. Just give people a shitload of different vehicles and a shitload of tracks. And to me, we don't know the price yet. So I'm assuming this is not going to be a $60 game. Um, but depending on the price, yeah, this may be a pretty good, purchase. So let's move on. We're looking here. We're looking at some of the. This is pretty much what's in the game. You got your team summary, racing teams, my vehicles, facilities, personnel, accounting, career history. All right, so it does look like they're going to have some kind of career mode. This is where I start leaning towards the Tony Stewart games, which I don't know anything about. You guys would have to tell me, yeah, you're right, or yeah, or it's not really like this. But there's some kind of career mode. It may not be super deep, but it's there. And again, this is what you're supposed to do for a first game. When people make all these excuses of, oh, it's just the first game, this is why NASCAR Heat Evolution was such a terrible game, because this is this is what we kind of were getting in NASCAR Heat 3, I would say. And that should have been the first game. And I think people would have been a lot more supportive if that was the first thing they came out with, was what we were getting with NASCAR Heat 3. It was like, okay, for a first game, not bad. But they're starting off at that level with this. And this is a small series. So I can't complain. And I don't know what's involved here with facilities, personnel, but it has to mean some kind of career management thing, like we see with the Heat series. This may even be more closer to NASCAR Heat 4, because I don't NASCAR Heat 3 did a lot of this stuff wasn't there. So yeah, I mean, I they're not really showing you anything, but you could tell from here there's something. So let's move on. Look at all this. All right, you got four different series, and yeah, they're showing you each season and then where you are. Now, this is the one. Okay, I gotta again. I don't know. It's hard to know what's in the game from this one trailer. But when you look at the team records thing here, it's very, very, basic. Are there deeper stats in this? I don't know if this is all you get. This is not good with the stats thing, right? It's not a deal breaker because, like I said, this is not a fucking AAA worthy game, but I mean series. But it's just something to keep an eye out for, right? And those of you who have played the Tony Stewart games, is it like this? Is this like all you get in terms of like stats, or um, excuse me for a second. All right, or is there more? Maybe there is more. Where you go to career history, you click on that, and there's probably a breakdown of stats. I have to assume there are. So anyway, I don't want to dwell too much on that because I don't really know. Yeah, it's a basic thing, a basic online layout. Yeah, it's that's what it reminds me of. NASCAR Heat games. This is what I another thing I really like. Okay, they made sure to let you know authentic sounds. So one of my biggest complaints, and since the beginning of time, NASCAR games always sucked when it came to sound. And I always thought that that was such a huge fail, because one thing people walk away from, if you ever been to a real NASCAR race, is the sound. The sound is a huge part of what immerses you in the racing. And the fact that these games always had horrible sounds, it really took away from the game and took away from that immersion. And it wasn't until NASCAR Heat 4 where 704 and Monster Games finally learned, hey, we need to go and really record the actual sounds and do whatever it is they do on a technical level to put it in the game. And NASCAR Heat 4, one of my favorite upgrades was the sound. And I really thought it was important. And a lot of people just don't talk about that stuff. But I always harp on these things, like, these details, like the sound and the statistics, those type of things. They have to be there, and they have to be done right. So they're making sure to let you know, listen, guys, um, you're getting this off the bat. Listen, just saying that, I feel kind of awkward because you should never have to make this big of a deal about it, but we've had to because we're used to getting games that fail on such basic details. But it's good. It's good that it's there. They're letting you know. Look, guys, this is what I've you guys heard me complain, and I've told these guys, put a fucking engineer, a sound engineer in the fucking car out there recording the fucking car. You got to get this shit right. I've been saying that shit for years, and they finally did it, and now they're doing it here. With the first game. So that's good to see. This is the most impressive shot in the trailer, just visually. They really put a lot of detail in the background. I like that. It looks cool. This looks like some kind of fantasy track, unless you guys know this is a real track, but we don't see road courses, dirt courses in real life, I don't think. So this is awesome. And as I said before, you can just create fantasy stuff, and it could be better than real life tracks because the only limit is your imagination, and this could lead to some really fun racing. So I like this. This is probably the best screenshot. It's not a AAA game. It's not a big developer. It's not going to have a shitload of money poured into it. And I think that they're making the most of their resources. And Monster Games, everything they learned at 704 in getting those games where they needed to be, or at least where they did the best they could under the circumstances. You're getting that. The people that are buying this game, you're the beneficiary of all their mistakes and the things they learned. So this is what I would expect from a good effort at a first game. This is no more, no less. I'm fine with this.
I'm Alan Bestwick. This is SRX, the game.
Look, and guess what? Comes out in a week. Who can complain about that? So, yeah, this is. I wish more developers would do this. Now, I'm gonna say, just to be fair, I do think a 1 week, it's not enough time to really market a game. And I think that some of it is probably because they want to make sure that it comes out with the start of this series, and that is a good way to time it. But hopefully, and I hope I'm wrong, there's also a possibility that, yeah, maybe they're just going to push this out there, and maybe they don't want to reveal too much because maybe it's not all that. But from what I see in this trailer, it looks pretty decent. If I was an SRX guy and I want to get this game, I would be excited. I would be excited. And you guys let me know, is this a lot more like a Tony Stewart game? Because I haven't played that. I really don't have interest in it. But it does also reminds me a lot of like something between NASCAR Heat 3 and NASCAR Heat 4. It's probably not as deep as NASCAR Heat 4 in terms of career mode, but it does seem a little more polished than NASCAR Heat 3. And it wasn't till NASCAR Heat 4 that they nailed the sound and all that. And I'm assuming they got the sound because they're letting you know in the trailer authentic sounds, and they're showing you the guy out there recording, which is good. Um, it's embarrassing that we are at a point where these games connected to racing have to do that, where they have to put that in the trailer. Like, look, we actually have a sound engineer out there recording, so to make sure you get an authentic sound. That is kind of embarrassing, but it is where we are, and it's because of the the lack of detail that we've seen in all these years of NASCAR games. But they at least learned enough to know, let's just, let's squash it right out front. Let people know this thing's gonna sound the way it's supposed to. I would be excited about that. And I think for what it is, it's pretty impressive. I think the strategy is, let's give these people a shitload of tracks and cars to choose from. And I mean, how can you complain? Now, is this going to be $60 or not? I don't know. It's weird they're not listing a price. Maybe, maybe I'll find out later, but I would say if they're asking $60 for it, I don't know what to think, to be honest. Um I don't know. Maybe $40 or 40, $50 maybe. Um I don't know. One other thing before I go, they didn't really show anything as far as customization. Now, these cars are, I don't think, yeah, I don't think customization is going to be a big thing, because these cars are designed in a way, it reminds me of the IROC series, where all those cars look the same except they would have different color stripes or something, and then you would see the name of on the side of the car, and you would see who was driving it. So these cars are meant to look alike and represent the series. And then yeah, you got sponsors on the car, but the sponsor's not going to overtake the entire look of the car. And I think that's on purpose. And yeah, so I don't expect to see really anything in customization. I think you probably get different sponsors, and that's about it. And maybe yeah, you will get to choose which color scheme, but the cars are going to be very similar. And in that sense, I don't think customization is that big a deal in this series. NASCAR is a whole different ball game. It's the opposite. You really have to have good customization and a lot of options. So yeah, those are my thoughts. It looks exciting for what it is. Is it something I'm going to be getting on day one? No. But maybe down the line, I'll check out some videos. I'll see what other people think of it. And I am going to follow the series, okay, and see if it's something I like. Um, we'll see what it is. But I like the car. I like the idea behind the series. Um, and as long as they do their own thing, don't go head to head with NASCAR. That would be stupid. But man, I gotta check the schedule. But run the schedule on a different day, different night. And I do believe these races are going to be on CBS. So yeah, do your own thing, and I think that it'll work. You can build your own little audience there, and as a NASCAR fan, I got room for both. It's not like, oh, I can't, but as long as you're not like going head to head on the weekends, right? Because Saturdays you got Xfinity, sometimes truck. So if you're gonna do it, I don't know. I got to look at the schedule. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think of this. And yeah, I gotta say, for a first game, this is the way to do it. This is what that first NASCAR game should have been closer to. And I do like the idea that their their strategy is good. They put 50 tracks in the game and four different types of vehicles to race. Who can complain about that? And to me, if they fall a little short in the career mode and these other areas, I think the people that play this game, I don't think they're going to care as much. And I think that just having so many different options of tracks and cars, I think that alone is enough for now to sell this game. And then yeah, if this thing grows and the next game, yeah, then you do got to get into presentation and career mode and get deeper in there. and polish up all the areas where this maybe falls a little short. But it's a small series. I don't think you need you. It doesn't have to be reach a AAA title level, right? And from what I've heard, the Tony Stewart racing games, most I haven't heard negative stuff. Some people said that they like it. It's fun. It's it is what it is, right? Not everything has to be AAA status. NASCAR, different thing. That thing it's deserving of AAA status quality as far as being a video game in detail and all that stuff. But this, I gotta say, if I'm an SRX guy, and I'd be excited for this. So let me know what you guys think. Those are my thoughts. Later.